Hi, my name is Luke Strickland. I'm a senior, 24 years old at Oregon State University, and I'm making this video because I want to, make a vlog or a video journal, whatever they call them. I do find that I can express my ideas better verbally through speech rather than writing. I tend to find myself too perfectionist when it comes to writing. So I figured this would be the perfect way to do this. I don't really plan on people watching this, but I don't know, maybe it could help someone else. I'm going to school to be a teacher, so I figure anything that I can do to help people would be beneficial. I'm gonna try to do these once a week, so I guess I'll just focus on what happened this last week. The biggest thing, hands down, the number one thing that I can make a journal on this week is my roommate moved out. And to some people, that probably doesn't sound like that big of a deal. I mean, it's a roommate, it's not a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a best friend or family member, it's your roommate. But I grew up an only child, and my roommate is essentially my unofficial sister. That's what we've been calling her. And I think the reason that it impacts me so much is because I'm an outgoing person. I place myself on the extrovert scale pretty close to extroverted. But that doesn't mean I let people get close. I'm fine talking to people. I'm fine making them laugh. I'm fine making jokes with them. And again, talking until the cows come home. My sister-in-law has a friend that probably talk to way too much, that I talk her ear off, and I'm surprised she hasn't told me to shut up at one point or another. But I like talking to people. I like being friends with people. But I don't let them close. And I hope that distinction is pretty clear, that I can be friends with people, but that doesn't mean they know a lot about me, or that I let them know a lot of who I am. My roommate was with us for 2 years, and so she knows a lot about me. I've shared a lot of stuff with her. She experienced an accident, or not, she didn't experience an accident. I experienced an accident. She experienced it with me. She was our roommate at the time when I had my accident, so she definitely went through her own troubles with that, with finding out that I had hurt myself in a pretty severe way. So I've been trying to wrestle with how to deal with the fact that she's moving out. 2 years of experiences, 2 years of sharing a lot of jokes and moments and funny things, sad things, whatever you want to call it in between. We've shared a lot, and she's moving out. My counselor, I saw a counselor relatively recently, and he said something interesting. He gave a metaphor that I really kind of identified with. He said that our emotions are like radios, and that there's two knobs. One knob allows us to control the intensity of the emotion, and the other is our willingness to experience that emotion. I typically have an anger problem, and so what that means is that I oftentimes my anger gets out of control, and so I often try to turn the intensity or the frequency with which I get angry down as much as possible. And the counselor said that that's not as healthy. That experiencing anger, experiencing frustration is appropriate. It's part of our emotional makeup. It's when you get out of control that's the issue. So he said rather than trying to make it impossible to ever experience anger, I should be willing to experience it, but try to maintain the intensity as much as possible. And the only reason that I bring all that up is because it's the same thing with sadness. I I am incredibly sad. I'm not depressed, but I'm incredibly sad that my roommate's moving out. And for a while, I tried to stop it. I tried not to face it. I tried to say, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna get upset. I'm just gonna move on. I'm not gonna deal with it. And try to turn the intensity knob of the sadness to off. And that's not healthy. Sadness needs to be understood. Sadness needs to be expressed, and it needs to be experienced. So I turned my willingness to experience it up. I don't really know what I want to accomplish with these journals other than just sharing stuff, insights or whatever that I've had with my experiences. So I guess I'll just, I don't know, go from there. So I feel sad. That's kind of how this day's been dominated. That's kind of how this week's been dominated because it's been kind of leading up to it. She cleared out her room. She had a lot of artwork up on the walls and stuff. I mean, she's an artist from Oregon State, and so she pulled a lot of her stuff down because she, obviously wants to take her stuff with her. And it's just kind of hard to see the apartment a little bit barer now, a little bit emptier, and that's tough because it almost feels like part of her is leaving me when all of her stuff that reminds me of her, even when she's gone, because she lived on the West Coast, the far West Coast. That way, I think. Who knows? Like you care. Far West Coast. So she leaves at times, and she's gone for a couple days, but that she still had stuff here, so I could see her. I could be reminded of her. A lot of her stuff's gone. All of her stuff's gone thereabouts. So it feels like a lot of her is just missing. And I know that, we'll still be friends. I know that we'll still stay in contact. But that doesn't make it not suck. That doesn't make it suck any less. And I try to think why. I know God didn't create sadness. Well, I can't say that. I don't know what God created and didn't create. God created brains. God created emotions. And so yeah, I might be sad, but I can't imagine that that's something God would want. But I still have it, so I've got to experience it. I've got to deal with that. So I've been trying to think what could God want me to experience from this? Because when I had my accident, that was one of the things a different counselor, but my counselor asked me was, ooh, get a little lower. That was one of the things my counselor asked me was drawing meaning from life experiences, terrible experiences, good experiences, whatever, drawing meaning. So how could I draw meaning from this? And initially I was like, well, I'm not going to let other people in because look how much I've been hurt by this. I mean, she's the first person I've really become close with in 6 years outside of my wife, but that's kind of a gimme, like that's a lifetime relationship. So I'm hopefully, assuming not going to ever not be around my wife. So, but that's my initial concern. It was like, okay, cool. I'm not going to be friends with anyone ever again because screw that noise. Why would I bother? And I realized that that's not what God would want me to draw from this. So my second thought is, as painful as it is, that I need to let people in. That I need to be willing to take that gamble, that risk. And obviously, I'm not going to share my life story to every single person I share the bus seat with, but I think there are people, there are going to be people in my life that'll have the opportunity to let a little closer. And I need to be willing to do that even if it will be painful when they leave. Because I can't let the fear of sadness or potential sadness hamper my relationships with other people. Let's see, if this is a video journal, I should probably not talk all about just the one single thing that happened this week. What else? My mother-in-law's brother died. That's always sad. Death is sad. It's a little bit easier when you have something to believe in, religion and afterlife, whatever. It's easier when you have something to believe in because you believe that death isn't the end. It's not the final moment of life, and then your consciousness is done. But that doesn't make it any easier to die. My grandma died of pancreatic cancer January, and this is July, so 7 months ago. And we believe she's going to heaven, but that doesn't make it any easier for her to have died. And it's the same thing with my uncle-in-law. I'm going to call him my uncle-in-law. I have no idea if that's a thing, but that's what I'm calling him. It makes it no easier to deal with death from my uncle-in-law. So that was, I didn't know him. I don't think I ever met him, or maybe I did once vaguely. I can't remember. So I'm not terribly impacted by his death, as awful as that sounds. But obviously it affects the rest of my family. It affects the rest of my in-laws because a lot of them knew him, and they certainly probably don't feel not impacted by it. My wife went with my mother-in-law back east where they live. Not where they live, but where my mother-in-law's extended family or personal family lives, like you care. But they live out east, so she was with her. My wife was with my mother-in-law for 2 weeks, which was really tough. I don't think I've ever been alone. Like, fend for myself, cook for myself, deal with everything myself. We have a 7-month-old puppy. I've never dealt with myself alone, let alone my puppy, all by myself for 2 weeks. So that was tough. And I had that. I had, again, my roommate moving out. That occurred at the same time. I don't know that there's a whole lot else that happened this week. It's summer, so there's not a lot. I think I mentioned that I'm going to school to be a teacher, so taking classes now for that. I'm taking one class right now, and that's kind of good, kind of bad. The class is frustrating just because it feels like there's a lot of things that are standard and necessary that you should already know if you want to be a teacher. You know, things like group work is good. Group activities are good for cognition and cognitive development of ideas. So that's frustrating. On a positive note, one of the games that I have been following for a long time went gold today. And when gold means that they have what's called the Gold Master, which is your final kind of copy of the game that you send out to be printed onto discs to be sold to people. So it's pretty cool to have seen it in an evolution over 3 years, go from prototype to apparently a full solid game ready to ship. So I pre-ordered the game. Well, my parents pre-ordered the game for me a couple months ago, so that's going to be cool to finally have that come in about a month. So looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward. There's an expansion to another game that I play that's coming out. So a lot of new stuff to play. A lot of distractions from the whole roommate situation, and that's kind of the name of the game. I think as far as that situation's concerned, I need to. I've experienced my sadness. I have my experience meter has been fulfilled. I've cried a lot. I cried, I think, 3 or 4 times. I think I cried about 3 times today alone. Uh, Today was the day she moved just about all the rest of her stuff out. Her bed and her desk is still here, so you know. But I've cried all my tears that I think are appropriate. And now, rather than dwelling on it, I need to do other things. Like take this journal, for instance. I need to take a journal. I think that's it. Um, I think that's all that I'm really feeling right now. I don't I don't know that there's a lot going on in my life. Um, Obviously, now that my roommate's leaving, there's just that much less. That sounds really depressing. God, there's still stuff going on in my life. My wife and I are still happily married. We still have a dog that we're going to be taking back to training classes soon. There's still stuff going on in my life. I think I need to look at it as a new chapter, and I mean that literally, like a chapter in a book. That the conclusion from the previous book was they remained friends throughout all the rest of their years, but it was time for her to move to a new setting, and it was time for me to move to a new setting. So hopefully, hopefully this won't be a journal of 3 or 4 months of everything's sad. I think I will enjoy keeping this journal, just so long as I can actually, I don't know, not be depressing, you know. And I like I said, I'm generally a positive person, so I think I'll be able to find more positivity as time goes on. It's just frustrating to deal with that right now. So, again, this journal is, almost solely intended just for me, just to keep a video journal of what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through, what I'm living. I don't really know or care otherwise who sees this or who watches it. Don't be a jerk about it. Obviously I'm sharing some pretty personal stuff, so don't don't make fun of me. Sounds really, really awesome on the internet. Don't make fun of me, guys. Um, but let's be civil. If you're watching this, you chose to watch this. You didn't have to. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of other videos on YouTube, so you don't have to watch this one. You don't have to watch the video of some mid-20s college kid who's bearing his soul to a computer screen so that he can watch it a year later and see where he was. And it's catharsis, getting it out there, getting it into the world. Nobody may ever watch this, but I'm just getting it out there to get it out there. So I think I'm at about 20 minutes. I thought that was going to be a lot longer. I think I'm going to call that good. It's a good first session, just getting stuff out, how I feel, how I'm processing things. I actually read that psychologically speaking, when your body takes a deep breath, when you that's actually a mental tool that your brain does to indicate that you're changing subjects, you're changing topics. So I think that's where my life needs to be right now. It's just one great big so out with the old, in with the new. I'm just kidding. She's not old. She'll be relevant in our lives for a long time, for hopefully the rest of our lives. I don't want to lose contact with her. My wife doesn't want to lose contact with her. She was a friend that a friend would want, you know. So with that, I think I'm gonna call it good. I'm at 20 minutes, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna try to stick to 20 minutes next time. I think I'm just gonna be wherever I want to be. I might bring up different stuff. I don't know. We'll see. It's my own personal journey, and if you're enjoying watching this, then cool. If not, don't really care. It's for me and me alone, really, honestly. Cool. Okay, well, I'll be back next week, if not sooner. Bye. I think I have to click stop. I'm just kidding. Bye.